This is Enos' Sport, bringing you that heat and that far. We keeping a foot on the whoop on the necks. We keeping a foot on the whoop on the necks. And like the Tibetan Mastiff that I am, I'm applying what? Unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? Heat bursts his pipes. Let's talk about it, man. You see, this is what Enos' Sport was talking about, man. How is the WBC gonna sit there? WBC seem to be getting every fucking thing wrong. How is Teofimo Lopez undisputed? He don't have all the damn belts. Even though Devin Haney's an email freaking champion, and he is. And I could understand the rationality behind that. Because Devin Haney didn't do anything of heavyweight lifting proportion to earn the freaking belt. Bottom line is, he has the super championship belt. And we're going to call a spade a spade. We're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it a buck, and we're going to keep it 100. So there's no way Teofimo Lopez, the super duper hype job variation, is undisputed. As a matter of fact, his lineal status is in fucking question. Let me say it again. His lineal status is in fucking question. Because he won a bribery and a robbery of a freaking fight. He didn't win a real fight. Him versus Vasily Lomachenko is still being disputed. There should be a rematch because there's a rematch clause into this fight. See, a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, well, there's no rematch clause. Oh, okay. It's called the Bob Arum rematch clause. Let me say it again. It's called the Bob Arum rematch clause. Bob Arum does a rematch whenever he sees and fits to do so. And can't nobody tell him anything because he's an old car salesman, aka Shiesty MFer. He knows that if it's a fight that sells, that money is involved, he will do a rematch because it's the Bob Arum version of a rematch. Meaning supply and demand demands for this to be a rematch, so hence it will be a rematch. This is business 101, man. Especially as it relates to the three-pronged monster of boxing, which is economics, politics, and pugilism. But in its most cold-hearted, unadulterated, and cutthroat fashion, Teofimo Lopez is a super-duper hype job variation. His lineal status is in question because he won a bribery and a robbery fight versus Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko came out nearly a month ago or 2 months ago and said that the boxing judges were paid off. No one paid attention to him because, you know, he's white. He's supposedly the great white hope. But Floyd Mayweather is the exemplification of boxing. And the exemplification of boxing is Floyd Mayweather. Let me say it again. Floyd Mayweather is the exemplification of boxing. And the exemplification of boxing is Floyd Mayweather. So when you're talking Floyd Mayweather, you're talking boxing, right? Floyd Mayweather said that Vasily Lomachenko is a great champion. He's a true champion. So if Floyd Mayweather says that, I digress. I defer to that. Because who knows boxing more than Floyd Mayweather? Who's done boxing at the highest levels more than Floyd Money Mayweather? This is what Floyd Money Mayweather said about Vasily Lomachenko. He had so much respect for Vasily Lomachenko that he pushed Gervonta Tank Davis slowly. And Gervonta Tank Davis is my guy. I wouldn't be a cold-hearted, unadulterated, and cutthroat telefashion artist if I didn't denote this, if I didn't say this, and in its most cold-hearted, unadulterated, and cutthroat telefashion. That's exactly what happened. So we got to respect the great Vasily Lomachenko, man. He was bribed and he was robbed. Let me say it again. He was bribed and he was robbed. And I know fight fans don't want to accept this. Enos' Sport is not here to tell you what you want to hear. He's here to tell you what you need to hear. Let me say it again. Enos' Sport is not here to tell you what you want to hear. Enos' Sport is here to tell you what you need to hear. And what you need to hear is as simple as this. Once a super duper hype job, always a super duper hype job. So Teofimo Lopez has to prove legitimacy at his own weight class, which is 135. He needs to run it back, or run that MFer back with Vasily Lomachenko. I'm telling you guys right now, and I'm doing a and a prediction, King Strikes again. I'm doing a and a prediction, King Strikes again, that I can see Bob Arum running this thing back. It makes the most logical sense. It's the right thing to do, especially with Vasily Lomachenko being bribed and robbed. And it's the Bob Arum thing to do. Remember, Bob Arum is a old car salesman, aka Shiesty MFer. He always punishes the guys that he reveres as baby. What do I mean when I say baby? In the wrestling term, you know what I'm saying? Like Vince McMahon's version of wrestling, you know, pure entertainment. They used to call the superstars baby. That means the darlings, the guys that are the cash cows, the guys that bring something to the table, right? Vasily Lomachenko's not a cash cow, but he brings something to the table nevertheless. What Vasily Lomachenko brings to the table is he's a name. Bob Arum has propped in Vasily Lomachenko as his darling as the guy at 135. So he's going to make sure that his darling gets the get back. He just had to slap Vasily Lomachenko on the wrist. He's done this with Manny Pacquiao. He's done this with Oscar De La Hoya. And boy, did he try this with Floyd Money Mayweather. Let me say it again. He's done this with Manny Pacquiao. He's done this to Oscar De La Hoya. And boy, did he try this with Floyd Money Mayweather. But it fell flat on his face. And we know he's done this with the Chihuahua walking behind the damn fence in terms of not giving him quality oppositions and marketing him because he's boring. He can't sell a cookout, let alone a chicken dinner. But in its most cold-hearted, unadulterated, and cutthroat true fashion, it's as simple as this. Teofimo Lopez is a super-duper hype job variation. He needs to prove legitimacy. So he's not undisputed. That's a myth. It's a boxing myth. And the WBC, since they always get everything wrong, they legalized Clem Bluderov for Canelo Alvarez. They basically gave French fry belts to Canelo Alvarez and Vasily Lomachenko. You see, I'm not hot on Vasily Lomachenko. I could call a spade here. Because Vasily Lomachenko at that time did duck Devin Haney, and I gotta admit that did happen. But Devin Haney since then has been riding off of namesake. Devin Haney hasn't been riding off of boxing acclaim ability. This is Devin Haney's issue. But it's because of the fact that he didn't fall his butt completely, utterly, and without fail under Floyd Money Mayweather so that he could be crispier in a three-piece. And you know what ended up happening to this guy? Because he allowed his dad, Bill Haney, to run his affairs, to govern his affairs, it put him in a precarious situation. Because when it's all said and done, Bill Haney doesn't know lick about boxing, training, managing, you name it. So we're seeing this. This is evident because Devin Haney has a overhand right that's choppier, right? It's choppy as you know what. The Devin Haney that's in front of me right now, he's not even ready for the super duper hype job variation. Teofimo Lopez is on a higher level than him. I don't trust Devin Haney against even super duper hype job variation. Because Devin Haney didn't completely submit, bend the proverbial effing knee to Floyd Mayweather and kiss the ring while they're at it, or while he's at it, so that he can be crispier than a three-piece. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat true fashion. Why do you think Devin Haney's getting disrespected? Because Devin Haney screwed up since Gary Russell Jr., man. He was supposed to take that fight. That was a fight that was going to be legitimate for this guy. It was going to actually be a good namesake fight. But now I understand why Bill Haney made sure that his son ducked Gary Russell Jr. Because the performance against Eucurius Gamboa, if that was Gary Russell Jr., it's a things that make you say, It's a things that make you say, Gary Russell Jr. would have exposed Devin Haney. Devin Haney is what you call an amateur professional, just like Gary Russell Jr. said. Now that was so deep and profound when he said that. Because Devin Haney falls by namesake. He falls by what he did in supposed sparring with who knows who. Who gives a damn about that? Who brags about sparring that much, man? Don't nobody brag about sparring. There's a taboo in sparring that says what happens in sparring stays in sparring. You don't see Earl the True Spence bragging about it. It's people that's bragging about what Earl the True Spence did to Floyd Money Mayweather. But Devin Haney's always bragging about stuff because he's a parasite, man. But Teofimo Lopez, undisputed at 135. The WBC stands for whiskey, booze, and clowns, dog. Let me say it again. It stands for whiskey, booze, and clowns. Because clearly they on that whiskey. Clearly they drinking that booze. And clearly they are clowns. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat fashion. Maya Angelou said it best. When a person shows you who they are the first time, believe them. WBC, Teofimo Lopez, the super duper hype job variation is undisputed. Woo! You can't make this up even if you wanted to, though. This is Hinos the Sport. Check it out.
If you want smoke, it's free, but you can't smoke for free. If you want smoke, it's free, but you can't smoke for free.